everybody, DeathsStalker here. So I noticed in the last couple months I've actually got quite a few subscribers. Thank you very much. And one of the guys I follow actually had done a motor vlogger challenge about what your riding history was. And I realized that although I have covered them individually, all the bikes I have owned, and bought them, why I got rid of them and so forth, but those videos were done years ago, and most people don't actually go back and watch your playlist. So I thought I'd give you the Reader's Digest edition, or Cole's Notes, or whatever short form topic would best describe it. So way back in 1983, a friend of mine who was, we were playing pool at a pool hall, and he happened to mention this really cool motorcycle he saw in the window of a Honda dealership. And he said, oh, we should go check it out. So after we finished playing, he went there and showed it to me, and it was a red and white 1983 Honda Interceptor 750. And that was a new style of motorcycle back then. It was sort of like the very beginning of the what would become the modern superbikes. And I was floored. So like the next couple days later, I went to the dealership, talked to them, went to a couple of the dealerships, bought some motorcycle magazines to read up on it, and bought one. Now, I did not have a motorcycle license. Other than riding a friend's dirt bike once or twice, I'd never ridden a bike in my life. So I got this 750 bike, which at the time was one of the fastest 750s around, and got my beginners, which is just basically taking a written test, and went out and they unleashed me on the road. And surprisingly, I didn't die. And I actually enjoyed the Honda. It actually handled pretty good. They had a problem. My bike was one of the ones that didn't really have a problem. But the only thing I noticed was that it was, to me, it was a little bit underpowered. So the next year, I bought a 1984 Honda 1000 Receptor. It had the power. It was also very heavy, and you know, to me, actually handled like a drunken pig, and the brakes weren't very good either. But I had that for a couple years, and then the next year, the place I was working was not conducive to having a nice motorcycle in the parking lot. There was a lot of, it was an industrial area. Your bike tended to get like filthy. So I decided the best thing to do would be to get a dual purpose bike. So I bought a KLR 650, and that became my commuter bike for many years. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And actually, I kept that until I got married as my commuter bike. And then I watched my first 500 Grand Prix race on television. And it was like, okay, where do I sign up for this? Now, the bike shop I used to get my bikes worked on, the mechanic used to race bikes, and he was very knowledgeable. And I got talking to him, and he said, well, you know, I can get you, I know where there's a Grand Prix bike for sale. And I thought, oh, like 100 grand? He goes, oh no, I think it was about $4,000 or $5,000. I got myself a really good condition Yamaha TZ250H, and showed up in the very first race practice I had in it. It seized at about 85 miles an hour. Now, at the time, I was also riding, a friend of mine had a couple dirt bikes, and I ended up buying a couple as well. But the surprisingly, it seized, but I had learned to ride with my finger on the clutch, so I didn't actually get spit off like you see most of the guys who race the Grand Prix. And you know, I raced that for the rest of the year. Sold that because I was going to go to a different type of racing called production racing, and I bought a Suzuki Rg500, you know, the race replica. That deal fell through because Suzuki basically had a limited production and I wasn't on the list. So then I bought a 1985 Honda RS250 Grand Prix bike, which I was really fast on. And I also learned that it hurts when you crash. I broke my collarbone and knocked myself out for the rest of the season when I fell off, and I was pretty good. So then next year the Suzukis were back available, so I ended up getting one of those, and that's when the 750 Interceptor went away, replaced by the Rg500, and then the 1000cc went away because I needed a new 250, because the 85, although it was a good bike, it was old style technology, and at the time we were switching to radial tires, so I needed to get a newer bike or spend a lot of money buying rims. So I bought a 87 RS250, which was at the time pretty trick, and raced that for several years. Now my KLR and the RG was doing well. Eventually I sold the RG because although it's a very pretty bike and nice to ride, it actually was taking as much maintenance as my 250 to keep it on the street. I'd have to putter away with it during the week so I could ride it on the weekends. It had a problem with the carburetors, would constantly float bowls would actually jam open and leak, and if you didn't have the fuel shut off, your gas tank would be drained in about an hour. And the belly pan of the bike wasn't made of a plastic that liked gas, so like 2 belly pans later and a bunch of stuff, and I said that's gone. And then I met my girlfriend, who later became my wife, and I was riding to work from a different location now, and where I was, I couldn't, the KLR 600 was not fast enough, because I had to get on the highway and get off the highway. It wasn't only like one intersection, or one interchange, but it was just enough to make you uncomfortable when everyone's driving like 20 kilometers an hour, 30 kilometers over the limit, and you're having a hard time even hitting the limit. So that went away and got replaced by a Honda 650 Hawk. Oh, and I just forgot something. I also had a VFR 750 for a short time. I got a good deal on it, and I had it for a season, but I just rode it for a while, but I didn't, and it was a great bike, but the white rims were just horrible to ride in the dirt from the brakes, and the chain. Yeah, so anyways, back to my getting rid of the KLR, and then I bought a Honda NT 650 Hawk, which was a fantastic bike. Really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. V-twin, handled pretty good. The forks were kind of wimpy, but you know, did some work on the brakes, and it was a great bike to commute to work on and go for rides. Fast forward a couple years, and I had an injury on the job. I blew my knee out very badly, and had to get surgery and tons of physiotherapy, etc., etc., etc. And the problem I had with the Hawk was the position you normally sit in the bike when you're just riding, okay, like the position your knee just sits when you're just riding on the road, was right where the injury was on my knee. So I could ride my bike for about 20 minutes. Then I had to get off and stretch my leg because it was just so much pain. So I ended up selling the 650 Hawk, and had convinced my wife to buy an RC51, which at the time was my dream bike. And that's where I stand now. So that is the short version of my my bike history. Hope you found that interesting. Please free to comment on how cool or horrible you think some of those bikes I rode were. DeathsStalker signing out.